Cowboys Radio analyst Babe Laufenberg, our guest tonight, to talk Tony Romo here and where he may end up. No surprise, Babe, obviously, that this is happening, but I'm curious as to what you first thought about when the news started to trickle in that Romo's release would be imminent.
Yeah, it's like anything. I think we all knew this was going to happen, Deuce. And when it does happen, you're like, oh my goodness, they're releasing Tony Romo. And I say, well, didn't we all know this was going to happen? And you really knew it was going to happen halfway through the season. You know, when Dak Prescott took over, and barring some catastrophic injury, he was going to be the Cowboys quarterback. And it just doesn't work to have that guy who's been there for 10 years in the same locker room with the new guy. It wouldn't work. So there's no question it was going to happen. It's just a question of when and how, and now we know both those answers.
Back in 2006 during training camp, and I'll give you credit for this now. I wasn't able to at the time for obvious reasons. Babe was predicting during training camp that Romo would be the starting quarterback sooner than a lot of us thought he would. Bledsoe was the guy then.
Yeah.
And sure enough, week 7, second half of that Monday night Giants game, out trots Tony Romo to lead the Cowboys offense. Look back on that night for me. That's where it all started, really, for Tony Romo.
Yeah, it did, and it was a crazy night because everything happened in one half of a game. He threw for 227 yards in the second half. That had only been done by 2 players that year, okay? He had 2 touchdown passes. He had 3 interceptions. The ball was going everywhere. It was going to Giants. It was going to Romo. He's scrambling. It was so much fun. I remember walking out, and I won't name their names, but 2 local reporters who covered the Cowboys said, well, at least we know that this kid can't play. And I said, what are you talking about? Did you not see? He threw for 227. He did this. He had these touches. It's his first game. And turned out, I won't name their names, but it turns out that I was right.
So that game is somewhat prophetic for Romo. I mean, a guy who would continue to put up huge numbers among the all-time greats and at the very top in some important Cowboys statistical categories. Remembered partly for that, remembered partly for the fact that he couldn't consistently win in the postseason. Yeah. What does his legacy, I guess, deserve to be?
Yeah, I think it's like anything. I think you have to put a little time between the departure and, you know, when we start really truly writing his legacy. And that's why they wait 5 years for Hall of Fame guys, right? And put a little time between their career and when we're going to vote for him. But in my mind, Tony was a great quarterback. Not a good quarterback, not a very good quarterback. He was a great quarterback. He did not have great people around him for the majority of his career. I mean, they were good in spots, and you can criticize his playoff performances or what have you, but I never looked at one and said, wow, Tony Romo cost them that game. I know the bobble in Seattle, but that was his first year, and that wasn't even a quarterbacking situation.
Right, exactly.
He shouldn't even been holding at that point. But I just think he was a very underappreciated player. And it was interesting too, Deuce, because the national take on Tony Romo was this guy folds in the fourth quarter. Never forget, having a conversation with Al Michaels before a Cowboys game. And I said to Al, you know, he's the highest rated quarterback in the fourth quarter. And Al said, oh, come on, Babe, get out of here. And I said, no, I'm telling you, he is the highest rated quarterback in the fourth quarter in NFL history. And to Al's credit, unlike you in 2006, he gave me credit on the show. And he said, you never believed this, but I was talking to Babe Laufenberg. Up came the graphic and showing that he was the highest rated quarterback in NFL history in the fourth quarter. So anyway, I just think he, again, very underappreciated as a player. He was a great quarterback, not a good quarterback, a great one.
And I think fourth, regardless of quarter, in terms of quarterback rating as he, I was going to say retire. He's probably not retiring, but moves on.
And people always say, though, Deuce, you know, passer rating, that's just numbers. And well, here's what it is. You're throwing the ball to your team for a high completion percentage. You're not throwing it to the other team for low percentage of interceptions, and you're throwing touchdown passes. Basically, that's what it breaks down to. And if you ask anyone, what's the job of a quarterback? It's like, well, throw it to your team, don't throw it to the other team, and throw touchdowns. And that's what he did.
Assuming Romo doesn't retire, and a few months ago I thought that might be a possibility, but now indications are that he still wants to play. How much do you think he has left?
Boy, it's funny to me, Deuce, because it's a roll of the dice for the 2 teams that obviously people are talking about are the Broncos and the Houston Texans. Now, it's a roll of the dice for Denver to trot Paxton Lynch out or go with Trevor Siemian again. You're rolling the dice hoping these guys can do it. It's a roll of the dice for Houston to sit there and say, that was a down year for Brock Osweiler. He's going to be really, really good. And it's going to be a roll of the dice to say, can Tony Romo take us through 12, 14, 16 games? in terms of his health. If he's healthy, and it's a huge if, as we all know, you're not going to find another player like him in the draft or in free agency, and you may not find one for a long time. If he's not healthy, you set your organization back a little ways.
Tony Romo, one backup quarterback who ended up going on to big things, and here's another one. Babe Laufenberg, always great to see you,
he's got a little more money in the bank, that backup.
maybe just a little.
I did see Jerry on the field before one of the games, and I said, hey, since when did we start paying backup quarterbacks $20 million around here? I wasn't part of that gravy trade.
Great to see you.
Okay, thank you, Deuce.
I'm Mike Doocy, Fox 4 Sports.